Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. You can find me on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. Spelling GaelenTrombley. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. Yeah, we'll have a good time. So, hello everybody. Episode 183 of the Galen Trombley Show. My next guest, a couple things. One, I've been wanting to have her on for a long time. She's been on my initial podcast list for a while, and I've actually rescheduled her multiple times because of sicknesses, and she somehow keeps saying that she'll come back. She's just a really nice person, that's why. But my guest today is Jody Carpenter, Vice President of Human Resources at UFirst Federal Credit Union. Do you remember how we first met?
Well, I believe so. I was
welcome to, by the way.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you. I'm glad we finally got to connect. The first time that I remember meeting you was, unfortunately, I had torn my Achilles tendon, and my oldest daughter, Ashley, was playing soccer, a divisional game. Sectionals must have been at Shazy. Mm-hmm. And I had dropped off my husband and my youngest daughter to the field. And then I said, well, I'm going to see if I can park in handicap because I'm on crutches. I just got operated on, and I wanted to see my daughter's game, but I didn't know how long I would last. So I remember pulling in, and I have a black Tahoe, and I remember this nice young man came to the door with a nice smile, and I just said, "Hi."
He tried to kick you out.
Yeah. I said, "Hi." I said, and of course you couldn't see my foot because it was my left foot, so I could drive. Yep. But it hurt a little bit, but I still was going to go because I'm a determined parent. I was going to be there for that game, right? And you were in your coat, and I said, hi. I said, I have an injury. I'm in a cast, and I don't know how long I can stand for. Would it be okay if I parked? I don't want to take anybody else's spot, but if you do have a spot, can I park? And your smile just went, of course. And then I think you saw me get out of the car and went, yeah, she really needs to stay here. And
But I'm glad because I was thinking, I'm like, maybe she doesn't know when we actually met. It had nothing to do with work, and,
right.
And this is before I knew who you were. And I remember you pulled up and you looked familiar, so I'd probably seen you somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so for people that don't know, like when you have, back in the day, I used to coach soccer, so it was always kind of helped out with the sectionals and with helping with the parking. So basically it was like team parking, referees would park there, and obviously people with handicaps. So the whole purpose of putting someone there is that it was right next to the field versus parking behind and having to walk 3 minutes maybe to the field. Like everybody thought it was this long walk. It really wasn't bad. But so basically a lot of people tried to just park there, and able-bodied people, young, old, didn't matter. People just like thought they could park there. So naturally kind of worked their way through. So the reason, I think two things. Number one, you pulled up and you're driving. I could not see an injury, but again, I'm just going to give people the benefit of the doubt that they're not lying to me. The problem is throughout, I usually do a couple nights there. So throughout the whole time, it would be shocking if I told you how many people came in with some sob story, got out, walked across the field, and I'm like, they're moving pretty good. And then I had one person again, I'm not a doctor, but had some kind of respiratory issue. And I'm like, they got out, they walked across, and I'm like, okay. But I'm like, in my head, how many people lie just to get close to the thing? You came up, and I remember the way you said it was exactly what you said. Like, I don't want to take anybody's spot. I can, I'm on crutches, but I could totally, and I'm like, no, you are the people we want here. I said, I wish everybody was as honest as you. And then when you got out and started, obviously crutching your way along, it was like, I just thought it was kind of funny. And then I ran into, it seemed like as soon as I met you then I just kind of ran into you the next handful of years. But I was just wondering if you remember that. But that was nothing to do with banking. But so, Jody, I want you to start and give us the whole life story here. I have a little bit on you, but I also know that you've been a mainstay at UFirst for many, many, many years. But give us, for people that do not know you, kind of who are you, where'd you come from, how'd you get to 2022 Jody?
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Plattsburgh, New York. I went to Beekmantown High School. I wanted to become a nurse when I was like 10 years old. So I went to SUNY Canton for 2 years. That was back when it was a 2-year school. And I really enjoyed myself there. And I got really involved. I was president of the dorm. I was vice president of the student association. I was on the soccer team. I was on the softball team. We're captains of both of those. And I just had fun. Back in those days, Canton was known as the suitcase school where people would leave, where I wanted to stay. So I got a good group of friends and got really active and really enjoyed my time there.
Are you still friends with them today?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still good friends with my 2 roommates. Yep.
Which is cool because I see, like I went to college but didn't really immerse myself in the college. I have no college friends. I have more friends from my sister's college a couple years after, which explains what I probably did the last few years after I got out of college. But, okay, so you went from Beekmantown to Canton, 2-year school, then you came back to...
Yes, then I transferred to Plattsburgh State. I got out of the nursing major and I switched to business. And I went to a counselor. They said, well, you're very strong in science and math, so try an accounting course. See if you like it or you don't. So I did, and I really liked it. So I transferred to Plattsburgh State and joined the accounting department there.
What made you switch from the medical field to business?
Well, as a nursing student, it's very difficult, as you know. It's very challenging, and I was spending a lot of time, studying. And I would go to the hospital once a week. And during my 3rd semester, for some reason, most of my patients that I was assigned, you have to get those patients like 5 o'clock the day before, and you have to do all this analysis. You stay up till 2:30 in the morning, and you got to be at the hospital for 6 o'clock, and my patient wouldn't be there. They either would be gone like testing, they would have been moved, they would have been discharged. And then one time there was a little boy that was abused, and he was in a cast, like a full body cast, and his father actually
Was the abuser?
Yeah, was the abuser. And I just said, you know what, I can't do this. It just struck me that I wanted to work in pediatrics, and that's what I really wanted to do. But I'm like, I have to see the good and the bad in that. And I'm like, you know what, maybe I just need to take a step back and see if this accounting thing will work. And if not, maybe go back into the medical field. Because I was going to go to St. Rose for physical therapy too at that point. But I decided to stick with Plattsburgh State and do the accounting route. And well, I got with Dr. Gaber and Dr. Church, and they just steered my path. They are 2 wonderful people at Plattsburgh State, and they really just took me under their wing, and really I blossomed through the years.
Well, I think first off, Dr. Gaber I had also. I wasn't an accounting major, but I had him, and 2 of the most impactful people that I had at Plattsburgh State was Dr. Gaber and then Dr. Jason Lee. So I don't know if you know Jason, but he's been on the podcast. And I reconnected with him after like 10 years. That guy has not changed. He's a ball of energy and super, super good guy. And
I actually golfed with him.
Really?
The golf tournament that Nancy Church puts on.
Okay.
The yearly golf tournament in Westport, and
Nice.
I golfed with him. We had a ball. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, he's a fun guy and really smart. And same thing, like one of his mentors is Dr. Gaber, and then but yeah, Dr. Gaber's been around forever, and I don't think anybody said a bad word about the guy. He's a great man. But so I think what's the cool thing about hearing that is that you were able to kind of learn early on that you want to be in the medical field. I see like I know like a lot of people like for teaching will go and do student teaching their final semester or final year or semester and be like, I really don't like kids. Like I don't want to be in front of people, and to spend all that time trying to. I think that's the thing with most learning. It's kind of like immerse yourself as quick as possible, and then really know if you want to do it or not. Because again, at 18, 19 years old, I'm like, what do you want to do with your life? You're like, I don't know that because I've seen a TV show on there. My mom and dad do this, and that I was guilty of that. Like I don't know anything going on in the world. You're a kid. You learn like school or like math, science. I guess you'll be a teacher or phys ed teacher. And but I think that because like, I went and did my my internship my last semester, and that was like basically when I was decided like I just don't really want to do this. I got a degree in business, and I could probably, I could have leveraged it, but that's good that you knew that early on. So then, why business?
Mm-hmm. Well, again, my counselor said accounting, and accounting was in the business world, and I worked. My first job was at Bass Shoes.
Okay.
In Plattsburgh, and it moved up to Lake Placid because we're talking way back in 1988. Right now. So.
It's all right.
So I took more accounting courses, and I really liked them. I liked business. I loved marketing. I remember taking marketing with Dr. Church, and I just really, really liked it a lot. And when I graduated, I did actually the last semester I did an internship at Abbott, Friendly, Russell and Coffee, and now it's changed hands now. But so I was an intern, and then they hired me for tax season. And then they had too many junior accountants, so they said if we had another opening, we definitely would have you, but we'll ask you back if we can. So I started applying, and I knew retail because I had worked at Bass for so long. So I applied to Carter's Children's Wear, and I was the store manager there up in Champlain and Miramar.
Yeah.
The Miramar outlets.
Yeah.
That was a great place to work.
I drove by that about 2 weeks ago. It's just like a ghost town.
I know. It looks
too bad.
It is. It's unfortunate. But it gave me some skills, and it gave me lessons learned about hiring, firing, just everyday management, time management, all kinds of leadership abilities that, involve like your first job that you're in charge of.
How old were you at the time? Like early 20s?
Yeah. Because I had, I'm an October birthday, so I started college at 17.
Okay.
So graduated 19, and then graduated when I was 21.
Okay. Yeah. So, actually, going back to how many places were in Miramar? I remember it very briefly as a kid.
Oh well, there was
a Levi's.
Yes, Levi's was right next to me. There was Donna Karen. There was the Kitchen Collection, the Van Heusen stores. There was a Sunglass Hut, Danskin. There was Van Heusen. There was an eatery in there.
I almost, and again, this was 2 weeks ago. I almost drove back there just to look at it because I'm like, I haven't seen it from. You always see it from Route 11 or coming up the highway, but you don't like to actually go drive around. But it's just this massive space that's just sitting there. And it's funny when we go down to Florida. There's one in Estero, and it's a Miramar, so I think it's the same family.
Yeah, it's Margaret Miller that owns it.
Is she a local person?
She's a French Canadian. Okay,
so and that one's massive because you go down there and they probably have 100 stores, something like that. But it's like, I really wish that we would get another outlet up here, like locally. And I'm surprised we have. Has there ever been talk about getting one, or ever like actually things put in play that might have fallen through?
Well, I know back when Miramar did open up in Ross's Point, there was some conversation about taking over where next to North Bowl Lanes, the North Country Shopping Center, and then they decided to build that up in Ross's Point. That's as much as I know. Okay,
because I always thinking like either revamping that in Champlain just because it's right across the border, or I always thought it'd be a cool place if you go down where because you're starting to see Plattsburgh build out this way, but Tom Miller Road and hooking on the Turnpike, there's a lot of like obviously fields back there. Would be for one of these companies to come in and just put a massive outlet right there because again you would have a lot of people go to it purely because you go down Lake George, it's Canadians or people from up here that venture down, and then I always find people farther south usually will go down like Woodbury. Like they, I think if you're anywhere in Albany or south, you probably cut more that way. But yeah, so no, that was bringing it back into, like I said, I don't remember a lot of it. I just kind of remember, as a young kid driving through there. So,
well, I knew that I didn't want to do retail my whole entire life. So I was there for about a year and a half. During that time, Scott and I were dating, and we got married actually in '93. And I was looking for my first accounting job that would be somewhere like in a business. So I ended up at the Press Republican.
Okay.
And I was in the business office, and I was assistant controller.
Okay.
And I did that for 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
And then we had our first daughter, Ashley, and I was working a lot of hours, like a lot of hours.
Were you doing both jobs or just this
No,
newspaper?
no, this is just the newspaper.
Is it still in the same place it is now? The same spot?
Yep.
Okay.
So, so I had a decision to make. You know, was I going to be a mother and find another job, because this job was very demanding. Unfortunately, the controller at that time came down with cancer, so I was doing her job functions and the assistant controller's job functions. So I was working 7 days a week, weekends,
So your
holidays.
cup was overflowing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, Scott was like, you're missing Ashley's first steps. You're missing, So I went, I got to make a decision and figure something out. And what was really kind of ironic is I was at my brother's twins' baptism at St. Peter's Church. And after the Mass, we met as a family to do pictures. And Clara LaRose was there. Clara LaRose was the first manager of the credit union, of SUNY Plattsburgh Federal Credit Union.
Okay.
And my mom knew I was looking, but I was kind of keeping it hush hush, right? So she tells my Aunt Rose that I'm looking. So my Aunt Rose is actually a relative of Clara LaRose, I think cousin, kind of distant, but mentioned something that I was looking for another position, and I was in management, but really just wanted to be a mother. So Clara called me and had an opening. She had 2 openings at the time that she called me. One was for a controller, which I was interested in, and then a frontline MSR. So I went for the interview, and during the interview, she had said that she hired another manager that a credit union had closed. It was Diamond International Credit Union, and their manager came in as the controller, but that there was still an MSR position available if I wanted it. And we went to Iris's, and she said, Jody, you're so overqualified. Why do you want to, and why do you want to take this step back in your life? You've been, a manager. Why don't you want to keep going? And I was probably 26 at that time, 26, 27. And, I just kept going home to Scott going, I don't want to be married to the job. I want to be a family. I want to have other children. So I need to make this move. And so basically I asked Clara, I'm like, do you have health insurance? I need to make my car payment, pay for the babysitter and groceries, and that's all I need. So she hired me, and I was on the front line for about 5 years. We had our second child, Mackenzie.
And this was the name of the bank at the time was SUNY Credit Union?
The name of the credit union was SUNY Plattsburgh Federal Credit Union.
And where was that located?
We were located at that point in the basement of Hawkins Hall. So
okay.
Yeah, so the actual credit union, it's a very kind of fascinating story, and I'd love to tell it if...
Well, you want to keep doing your story? We'll come back to that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I don't want to break the timeline here.
Yep. So I started working at the credit union. I was on the front line for about 5 years. By then, Clara LaRose had retired, and Linda Bourgeois took over as manager/CEO. And she told me, I have a job for you that I'm going to create. And it's going to be, I'm going to send you to what's called CUNA Management School. And it's Credit Union National Administration Management School. So it's kind of like getting your bachelor's degree in credit union world. And I had just had our second daughter, and she was 1. So I was like, can I wait one more year?
Perfect time to go.
Can I wait one more year? And she said, yeah, you can wait one more year. So so I went to the school, and my second year...
obviously physically went to the school, right?
Yes. Yeah. So the school actually is held at the University of Wisconsin. So go
Madison.
Badgers. Yeah.
Madison, yeah.
Yeah, great town. You go for 2 weeks in July. You do the program is a 2-week program. You're in classes all day, and then you fundraise for scholarships at nighttime. So you have different activities.
Go up and down State Street?
Yes.
I've been to Madison once. It's a cool place.
It is a cool place. Met a lot of really nice people. They're all from other credit unions around the country. We started with 91 students. We ended up graduating with 64 students.
Wow.
Because people end up, unfortunately, either losing their job or switching out of a credit union, or just things happen in their life, right?
Yep.
So I came back and you have a project you have to do. So the first year's project is doing the history of your credit union. Okay. So that was very fascinating. So I was dropping the girls off at religion and then going over and going to the credit union and going through the archives and seeing the first like deposit tickets and all that stuff was really cool, really cool. And then your second year, you are doing a 5-year plan of what your credit union is going to be doing in the next five years.
So when you're taking this, are you in Madison the whole time, or is it just 2 weeks in Madison?
It's 2 weeks for 3 years. So you go every July for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So
sorry.
So it's a true commitment to the employee and the employer, because it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you have to be selective of who you send there, and they have to want to be there. But you learn so much. You learn so much about the credit union and your specific credit union when you do the projects. Now the projects get graded by a professor, and you have to. It's out of 30. And they grade you, just about on everything and anything. So you have 2 projects that you have to pass in order to go to your second year and then to your third year.
And were you by yourself? Did Scott or the girls go?
No, yeah, you're by yourself.
Okay.
Because you're in class all day and then you're fundraising at nighttime, so you're on the go, so you have no time to miss home.
Well, a lot of times too, when it's just full immersion, you just you don't think anything else but that. So it's like you just kind of ingrain stuff quickly and. There's obviously power when you're with other like-minded individuals, because you just pick up on different tendencies or tactics, or like, hey, this is better. Like I always find talking to people in my industry and then to people outside my industry, and because drawing parallels, like I learned so much just by brainstorming with people, because I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I'm not doing that, or this is my 2 thoughts. Like, take that one, but yeah, go that way. So, all right. So the credit, and again, this is still Plattsburgh.
Yep.
SUNY Plattsburgh Credit Union.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So in 2006, I graduated from CUNA Management School, and Linda made me director of marketing. That was the position that she created for me.
So this was a 3-year process to get that position. Wow.
Yep. Okay. She actually gave me that that position, on year 2.
Okay.
So, and my very first project was to rename the credit union.
Really?
So no pressure, right?
Wait, so keep going. I don't want to get ahead of this.
So the reason why we wanted to rebrand ourselves is that in 2006, we were starting to figure out being in the basement of Hawkins Hall. We weren't growing as a credit union, and we needed to do something. We needed to build a building out in the community, not too far away from Plattsburgh State. And we always have kept our presence on the campus. We still have a campus branch inside the College Angel Center today.
Oh yeah,
so,
yep.
We have a ATM in there too, and we do a lot of stuff for Plattsburgh State, which is awesome.
Okay, so wow, so okay. So first off, the basement of Hawkins, where was this in the basement? Was it where the literacy center is now?
No, on the opposite side.
Okay.
We were the side facing the fountains. So we could only see feet, and we could only see the wetness of the fountains.
So I remember one of my first classes, I don't know if it was my first, part of me thinks it was my first class. I remember going downstairs. I had a couple classes in the basement of Hawkins, and it's not the most it's underground, so it's like this. It's there's, like you said, there's not a lot of view down there, and I remember just like that. Yes, I would say from a business standpoint, it's very tough to say I'm on campus in this building, go down the basement, go around. We're way over in the back corner where it's like pitch black. So okay,
and parking was an issue. We actually had 5 designated spots. We had Linda and Colleen West would go out to the parking spots and give out tickets if it wasn't somebody coming to the credit union.
Which I'm sure was a regular thing.
Oh, yeah, every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
I got a couple of those. Probably not in those spots, but I had a couple of those. So UFirst Credit Union is from your brain there.
Yes, I
did not know this.
I have a little story about that too, which I'd be happy to share.
I would love to, because I'm actually I did not know you came up with the name.
So I decided to work with the Small Business Development Center on campus And we were working with Media Central with Rick Dodge and Bruce Carlin at the time.
Yep.
And I had our board of directors, our supervisory committee, management, and we had a meeting in the conference room in Red K.
Yep.
So we had to come up with a name, and I needed help, right? So, I mean, I was going through the dictionary. I was going through just
what's
about
a synonym or
yes, like what. But I wanted a meaning, and the name had to have meaning. It had to have our history, which a credit union has to start with a sponsor. SUNY Plattsburgh was our sponsor, and that means that they gave us a space to be able to operate the credit union. So the credit union actually started in a briefcase in the personnel office. And Claire LaRose was the first manager. She was conducting business of the credit union out of a suitcase during lunch hour.
What year was this?
1971.
And when you say credit union needs a sponsor, is this true for every credit union? Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is like a national. Mm-hmm. Okay, and just for people that don't know, I kind of know, but I'm not 100% certain. What makes a credit union a credit union?
Okay.
By definition.
All right.
Do that, and then we'll go back into your story.
Sure. So a credit union has a different philosophy than a bank does. The way I can explain it is the way they are the same and the way they are different. The way that they are the same is they have the same products and services. We have, checking accounts, savings accounts, loans, mortgages, online banking, bill pay, all the services, products and services that any other financial institution would have. The philosophy is what is different about a credit union. We're all about people helping people. And we have every person that comes into the credit union, they become a member of the credit union. So you're not a customer, you're a member. That means you're part owner.
Like a shareholder?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that gives you a voting right for our board of directors. Our board of directors are volunteers. They're not paid positions. And it's usually the majority of the people that come make up our membership. So they know about credit unions, they're educated about credit unions, and they help us operate and set our goals in order to survive, right?
Yeah. And was that always, so since 1971, was that, Claire, you said was the first person?
Clara.
Clara,
Mm-hmm.
so
mm-hmm.
Did Clara have a board of directors back then? Or was so when this started, it was one employee in the board of directors?
Yeah, she actually was a volunteer. She wasn't an employee
Okay, wow.
of the credit union because they had to start off. So in order to become a credit union member, you have to have $5 deposited in your share account or your savings account. And that starts off the credit union. So in order to start a credit union, you have to have 10 members.
Okay.
And they each do $5. So then you can do three things with money, right? You can save it, you can spend it, and then you can invest it or share it, right? So all day the credit union buys money, sells money. So as another person comes in and makes a deposit, becomes a member, another member can have their auto loan, can have their boat, their dream, their home, whatever they are looking for. So it's buying and selling money every day.
So when you're starting out as a bank,
credit union,
credit union. Yep. No, that's good. Good catch. When you start off as a credit union, how do you? So again, I'm going to go with you have 10 people that all put $5 in. So let's say they put a minimum of $50 in. Do you only have $50 to loan at that point? Mm-hmm. So it really just is whatever the pool is.
Right. That's how it really started. And from what I gather in the history and talking to Clara and Linda, is that as more and more people, like if somebody was coming in for a loan, they would have to make a decision. Okay, well, we can give out this much money, today, and then this much money tomorrow, and then it just grows because as more people join the credit union, the more money gets deposited, the more lending can take place.
Wow. So when this is starting out, this is like you're nickel and diming and making decisions as to. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing it wasn't as easy to get a bank loan back then because sometimes they even have the funds to loan to you.
Well, I think it was. I don't think it was denied. I think it was okay. Well, we just need to wait a couple of days and then you can get your money. Because more deposits will come in.
So when you're starting out, I'm assuming the first I mean, there's got to be a massive focus on fundraising. I say fundraising, but like bringing members in.
Yeah, bringing members
so
in.
Like we need some capital here to do some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You always want new members coming in because you want them to experience the credit union philosophy of people helping people. And we're not for profit. We're not nonprofit. We're not for profit, meaning that we still pay payroll taxes. We still pay land tax. We pay, all those other taxes. We just don't pay federal tax. But in turn, what we can do is at the end of the year, when we have a positive balance, we can give back to our membership. Mm-hmm. So, like we brought in Zelle. I don't know if you've heard of Zelle.
It's kind of like a Venmo. So you're talking like dividend payments and stuff?
Yeah. Where you can transfer money from one person to another, for free.
Yeah.
So things like that, we try to make sure that we're relevant in the industry and bring on new products and services that members need.
So I'm still fascinated by the startup costs of this, or the startup. So when you started out in 1971, right? Just getting all my dates here. So 1971, like, when was the first time they could loan somebody money? Or do you know how much they started with at the start?
Well, I can tell you that the first year books, there was $931 on the books.
And I'm assuming it's profit at the end of the year, or no?
That was our asset size.
Really? Wow.
So right now, currently, we are $111 million in assets, and we serve about 9,100 members.
And this is, how far-reaching is UFirst?
Well, we have
branch-wise or locations?
We have 4 offices. We have our Plattsburgh main branch, which is on Ruger Street. Mm-hmm. We have our satellite office on campus, which is in the College Angel Center. Mm-hmm. We have another Plattsburgh office off of Weed Street. Mm-hmm. When we merged with Georgia Pacific Community Federal Credit Union, they have an office. So we have that. We took over that office and kept all the employees there. And then we merged with Northern Corridor as well.
Where's that one?
That one is up in the Cornerstone Pharmacy up in Ross's Point.
Yep.
It used to be the old Wyeth Credit Union, then renamed themselves.
Dan's place up there.
Yes, Dan Bosley. Yep.
So it's just the 4?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's insane. Mm-hmm. So
it's local.
Yeah.
Local.
Well, when you take I guess from starting to where you are. Well, actually, we'll get into that. I just want to keep so go back. So let's go back to the naming thing, because that's where we left off.
All right. So we ended up coming up with over 100 different names. We had mountain, this, valley, apple, everything to do with the North Country. Right. We even had North Country,
Michigan Bank.
Michigan's Bank. Yeah. Oh, hey, I didn't think of that one. French fry, I don't know. And I still wasn't, we grouped them together, and we had to make sure that another credit union wasn't named that name. So I had NCUA up on our laptop, and every time that we would come up with a name, I'd enter it and be like, nope, that's not taken, so we can add that to the list. And, I was, eating or not eating, not sleeping, not, just
couple kids
trying to figure this out, and, no pressure that this is my first assignment and I got to do it right. Right. So this is the funny story. So my girls both played soccer, and they played at the Crate Center indoor soccer. And we were just leaving there, and sometimes I talk to myself when I'm thinking, as my husband says, I think
out loud?
I think out loud.
Okay.
So I'm in the car, and I'm in the front seat, and the girls are in the back seat, and the 3 of them are chit-chatting. I'm like, I got to think of this name. Because, I just remember answering the phone as SUNY Plattsburgh Federal Credit Union, how can I help you? And I'm like, that's so long. We need a short, nice name that means something. And the true thing is that it had to mean something. Mm-hmm. It had to look at our history, and we never forget our history. It had to be where we are today and where we can be in the future. And it had to be one name that meant something for every one of those. And that's what I kept thinking about. And in my research, the word first was in a name a lot. So I was like, maybe that, something first. I don't know. But we'll figure it out. So as I'm talking out loud to myself, my husband is going, Jody, you're talking about history. You're talking about Plattsburgh State, the university. Use the U. Light bulb.
Yeah.
Because then I put UFirst. UFirst Federal Credit. I still get chills every time I tell that story.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's the name. That's the name. So I immediately called Linda and I go, I got another name. Because we had 3 that we were going to bring in front of the board for.
Oh, so you had narrowed it down that much already?
Yeah,
Okay.
to 3, yep. And I still wasn't like,
Yeah, not in love with it.
no. And I said, this has meaning. You know, the U in university means our history. You, the member, we want to put you for, and you first. We're putting everybody first in their financials, you know, in their finances. So I was like, that's it. So she was just like, well, Jody, you got to sell it to the board. So get ready. We're going to have a meeting next week. And so I you know, prepared myself like any other meeting, and I was really nervous.
Yeah.
But once I told the story, and once the meaning was out there, they were all for it.
Yeah.
And I was very thankful that they were, because we had to change our logo. We had to change everything. And to this day, though, Scott still says that he wants a little credit, wants a little plaque, like in the lobby area that he got the U. And I'm like, give your wife the credit, please. You know, I'm director of marketing. This is my first job, you know, first little project, or big project, should say.
Major project, yeah.
You know, and I was just, to this day, I'm still proud of it.
That's, I did not know that. And like I said, I mean, obviously you can like look up the year and everything else, but it's always like I'm fascinated by stories of the come up of everything. Like when you're starting out, like where to go, how to get to the here. So now, like, obviously your you know, credit unions are a very prominent, you know, player in the northern area. But then you got to sit there and strip it all the way back. So then it's like, because everything starts with like really humble beginnings. So you have a briefcase on lunch, and then, you know, how much it's grown over the years. But I think, like you said, even just naming it, you know, I spent a lot of time the last few years regarding like, you know, branding and image, and trying to really understand like the marketing concept behind it. And there's a lot to the decisions and to designs, and sometimes you overthink it, sometimes. But I will say, like, when you heard UFirst, and it was like a light bulb moment. It's almost, you work towards that moment where it just basically hits you, like slaps you in the face. You're like, yeah, duh, like that's it. And then you're like, and then really as soon, again, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think as soon as that happened, everything else, like all the other ideas, just completely fell out of like the bottom, just came out, and
absolutely.
all of a sudden, like, this is it.
Yeah, nothing like meant as much as that did.
Yeah,
you know. So it just, I'm like, this is it. This is it. This is what we have to use. And we were in the process of building the building on Ruger Street, and we knew that we couldn't put SUNY Plattsburgh Federal Credit Union on the outside sign, because who would come, right? The community wouldn't come. They'd be, oh, that's just for SUNY. It's another SUNY building. It's right down the road from SUNY. So we knew we had to rename.
That's really cool. I didn't know that. So the name itself has been only around since what, 2005 or
2006.
Okay,
yeah.
So 17 years, 16 years.
Yep. But we you know, started as SUNY Plattsburgh Federal Credit Union. So we've been around since 1971.
Now, I was gonna say, from an age thing, UFirst has been around for as long as I've known. So like that's, but again, like you said, for that time, it actually seems longer than what I would have thought, because I didn't know anything about SUNY before. I always knew UFirst. So, no, that's awesome. But now taking, and I didn't realize you had worked with Linda that long too.
Yeah.
So,
I've been there 24 years, starting January.
And how long's Linda been there?
34 years.
Okay. So, and Linda's great too.
Yeah.
But, and Linda what's her role right now?
She's president/CEO.
Okay. So obviously, and is there anybody else that's been around that long that you know of at the branch, or are you the two longest standing?
Yeah, we're the two longest standing. But there are some that are 20 years, like Eric McDowell, Shelby Siskavich.
Eric's been around that long there?
15, excuse me.
15.
He's been 15
Wow.
years. Shelby just celebrated 20 years, and she's our branch manager at the Plattsburgh. We call it Plattsburgh North. It's the one on Reed Street. She's been a branch manager for a long time now.
So how your perspective, and again, I'm sure Linda probably feels the same, but seeing it from 25 years or 24 years ago to rebranding the name to being in this beautiful new space, because I mean, again, watching it being built was cool, but obviously, and I went to one of your grand openings. I went to something, but it was got the tour around, but it's a beautiful facility. And how is that factored into when you started? Was that something you guys had worked towards vision-wise? Was that something that was on your radar? Was that something that took you by surprise of like, wow, I can't believe we've gotten this big? Or was that always the goal?
Well, in credit union or in the financial world, bigger doesn't always mean better. And one of the things that Linda has always instilled in all of us is that we don't have to be the largest credit union in the area. We just want to be the best credit union for our membership. And that's what we live by. We are our own. We're UFirst, and we do things differently. We do a lot of things for the community. We just finished Acts of Kindness, where each employee...
yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Explain it, but yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so acts of kindness. Each employee picks anything they want to help out the community. My personal experience was with Elmore SPCA. Mm-hmm. I wanted to donate some leashes and dog food and stuff like that, because we have a rescue dog from there, and as our family, we donate money every year to Elmore as a thank you for giving us our dog, and we've had her now 3 years. Just a good experience. So our marketing department gave us $1,000 for a donation for Elmore that day, and actually it was myself, Linda, and Eric that we just happened to have the same one, so we went as a group, and it was a really nice experience.
I was going to say, getting out and about sometimes with some members, that doesn't always get to happen, so it's kind of a little field trip.
Yeah.
So now, I guess, again, UFirst, but like the idea of giving back, was that something you guys were very big on with because obviously SUNY Plattsburgh at the start, I'm sure you're involved back then and still are involved now, but where did that stem from? Or is that just an extension of the idea of a credit union, or kind of like a mission or core value of credit union?
It is... all credit unions would give back to their community, but it is especially important to us at UFirst because it's part of our culture. We want to help people. We want to help people daily. We want to help our community. We want to be in the community. We donate a lot of money for being sponsors of things. We donate our time. A lot of us are in service organizations. Like I'm in Plattsburgh Rotary. Eric is in the Morning Rotary. Our creator of opportunities, Andy Foster, is in the Lions Club. So we're actively involved on boards. We have a lot of boards that we are part of, or just different committees. Like I sit on the United Way campaign. I sit on the Stepping Out for Your Heart. Linda Casey and I sit on that board. Or that committee, I should say, to raise money for awareness for heart issues. And
is that the big one they do at? Which one is that?
The Stepping Out for Your Heart. Well, what happened was
that the one they host at Westside, or no?
Yeah,
it is the one. Okay, I'm thinking of the right one. Okay.
Yep. And we've been doing it for a couple of years now.
It's a very well attended event.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. The community is really welcoming of it and raises a lot of money. And there's a lot of wonderful people that are part of our committee and that really care deeply about the committee and about heart disease. So it's our way of giving back, which is something nice. And like I said, the United Way is a very wonderful organization that I donate my time to. And
have you kissed the cow yet?
I haven't kissed the cow, but unfortunately I had a conflict and I wanted to go up to Miners Institute.
I was up there this year. It was fun.
know.
It was a cute event. Yeah.
Oh, I saw the video and it was hilarious. And it was great. And I thought that was awesome that you participated in that. And it's funny because John Bernardi is always going, I don't kiss on the side. I kiss them right on the lips.
I was going to say, I think between him and Dina and... They were pretty good. I forgot who went first, and someone went first, and then he went and like kissed the side of the nose. I was like, oh, this is nothing. This gal's got slobber over him.
Right.
I'll just kiss on the side like you're kissing like a dog or someone like a kid on the head or something. So I say it wasn't that bad, but yeah, some of them went really. John loves that cow, so John, John went for the full thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know, but like on the backside of our UFirst Plattsburgh Ruger Street branch is the Flanagan Farm, and there's cows in there.
Oh yeah, the actual farm. Yeah.
So we're always looking at cows. So it's not, I guess growing up in the North Country, you're always looking at cows everywhere. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like when you see kids from like the city like can't identify a cow or something, and I'm like, what? I don't know. It's one right there. Like different colors too. They're great. Yeah. So back to the. I guess the visioning part. So when you and Linda and obviously others, 20 plus years ago got together and were working on it. Is this something that you saw happening, like the expansion of where it's at now, or kind of like having I would say a fairly, that's a state-of-the-art building. It was just built a couple years ago, and there's a lot of, it seems like bells and whistles in there, and it's, obviously a more modern-looking building, and it's a pretty prominent location on Ruger Street. So was that part of it, or do you think that, the success of the bank took off beyond what
credit
unions. I know you're going to keep saying that. Did it take off more than you expected, or is it kind of like this actually worked out right along the timeline? Or
well, I think every credit union you want to grow slowly because you don't want too much deposits or too many loans because you want your balance sheet to reflect that you're a healthy organization. So I think just over the years we slowly grew. Now we did have. We did the name change in 2006. We moved into the new building on Ruger Street in 2007. In 2009, we merged with Northern Corridor Community Federal Credit Union.
That was the north one.
That was the north one. Now, their asset size and our asset size were about the same, and they merged into us. So we doubled in asset size, employee size overnight. So we had some growing pains. During those
who was
those
managing
years.
all that? Kind of a mixture of people?
Yeah, well, it was Linda, of course, and I was VP of marketing at that time, and then we had branch managers, that would oversee the branches and stuff. But really, our board of directors, our supervisory committee, and our management team, we really just pulled together and made it work.
So, how is that when you acquire, basically doubling in size? Like, what was? Again, I'm assuming everything like the credit union just blew up in basically a day, right? It's not like people come on slowly, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, you're now part of the credit union. Let's go.
Yeah, it's a lot when you're dealing with people's financials. There's a built-in of trust that you have to have, and we tried to be transparent. We tried to communicate as much as we could. Everybody that was transitioning over to our database, we had to make sure that everybody had new debit cards, new checks. So we had to, order that ahead of time. So it's just communication. But of course, there's always some, growing pains with that. But we work through them, one member at a time. And I think we're a stronger credit union, for doing that merger. And then back in 2017, we merged with GP, Community Federal Credit Union. And then we have that branch that's right behind GP. It's like a white building.
Yeah, the extension of Weed Street.
Of Weed Street, yep.
Well, when you... So the northern... Was it a credit union out there? The northern one up in...
Yeah, there actually... there was one inside the plant, one at Cornerstone. There was one in Moores, and then there was one at Minor Institute. So they had they had 4 little branches. So when Minor Institute closed, we closed that branch. We did rent a building in Moores, and just business wise, we needed to not continue that satellite, but people transitioned, over to Ross's Point, and they know us from there. So our second encounter was when I was VP of Marketing and Business Development, and the meet and greets that we would have up in Ross's Point.
That's right. When was that?
That's been a few years back. I know I've been.
I want to say it was 18?
Probably.
Right?
That seems right.
'Cause I have a picture of it with my oldest son, who was a little kid at the time, and he went to it, and that was.
Yeah, because you have Crew,
Oakland, and Penn.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So they're. I mean, Crew had just turned 4 a few months ago, and Oakland's almost 3, and my youngest just turned 1 a couple months ago. So, it's busy. But back then, I was only had 1 kid, so life was
good.
It seemed busy at the time, which now I look at like that sounded like a vacation now. But yeah, I mean, yes, I remember that too. It seems like when you start thinking about it, like that doesn't seem that long. Like it isn't that long ago, and then you start putting it back in time. Like, oh my God, that was 4 years ago now, which doesn't. It seems like a. And then, again, I know everybody says this, but like and I don't know the science behind this, or if there's actually science. But like as you get older, obviously things seem like they go faster. And I know everybody's told me that. Like now, I'm still, I realize like I'm still young, and I still know like there's a lot to grow. But just seeing the last like 10 years or 5 years or 3 years, how fast things have gone, and I'm like even this winter, we're in the spring now. It's like. Now people will probably argue with me, but I'm like, this winter seemed like it flew by.
I know,
and which is fine because I didn't get to ski a lot this winter, and that's really the only thing that like Christmas and skiing, and then other than that, I'm like, just give me like golf season. Like I just want to be out in the sun.
I know, I'm right along with you. Well, every year we usually take a family trip up to Mount Tremblant skiing.
Yeah. Yep.
And all the Carpenters go, so it's a big family. All the kids know how to ski. My youngest daughter, Mackenzie, learned how to ski up in Mount Tremblant. We got our lessons there. And both of them were on the Beartown ski team here, in the North Country. And
do you guys ski too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. I started when I was in high school at Beatmantown on Saturdays. The bus would go up to Whiteface every weekend, so I would do that. And the Carpenters, though, as a family, they had been going up to Mount Gabriel before Mount Tremblant was really developed. And they would be like in an A-frame house.
Yeah.
And they rent the house.
Little chalet kind of thing.
Yeah. And they would go with all their family. And Scott, my husband, started skiing like when he was 3. So he always wanted, since I skied, we both skied. Yeah. And then when we had kids, we're like, we got to get him on skis early. And we just have a really good time up there. And it was a place to disconnect and to not have our cell phones connected to us. And when you're on a chairlift, there's nothing like that peace of quiet, and especially like if it's snowing and it's just a crisp air, it's just really
nice
refreshing.
Mm-hmm. I've never been to Mont Tremblant, and I've always wanted to. My wife's gone a couple times up there, and one was her bachelorette party. That's where she had it, and so I wasn't invited that weekend. But yeah, I want to go up and just go skiing. But I know there's a ton of stuff to do up there, and it's like this. How far is it? About 2-3 hours?
It's from Plattsburgh to there, it's probably about 3.5 hours.
Okay. It looks like fun, but like I said, I think skiing for me is one of those where it's hard to check your phone because I only check it when I'm in the gondola or when I'm like stationary, typically like down probably by the lodge. So just like you said, riding up on a ski lift, especially if you're going with friends. We actually went last St. Patrick's Day. We went up with Ryan Lee and Adam Crosley and Ryan's wife Lauren for his birthday, and just like sitting on the chair, and we could all fit on most of the quads, so you just got to go up, you just kind of chit chatted, you got up and skied, you had a couple drinks, and it was just like a nice relaxation. It was like that 60-degree day, and just something about being outside with that fresh air, like mountain air, it just like rejuvenates you. And then like we've tried to go skiing. This year was terrible. We did not do really well at this, but in past years, we've gone up early in the morning and like a weekday morning, and we're back in the office before noon. But when you come back in, it's like you're walking on clouds. You're like, I feel so great today, and like because it's always trippy to think like, well, this morning I was up at the summit of Whiteface skiing, and then now like at noon I'm like answering calls and talking to people, and it's just funny how much you can actually pack in a day when you really get up early and jam it in. But no, that's cool. So now, so UFirst going forward, like what's the vision that you guys have now going forward? Is it more of just becoming more efficient and better at what you have? Is it, talking about expansion? Is there any new services or products or anything you guys are trying to maybe introduce?
Well, we increased our charter, so we were just in Clinton County, but now if you live, work, worship, or attend school in Clinton County, Essex County, Franklin County, New York, and then Franklin County and Grand Isle County in Vermont, you're allowed to join our credit union.
Okay.
Or if you have a relative that's already in the credit union, that you can join through that as well.
And when you start to open up like the charter, is that just purely, what you can handle, like because you're bringing on more people?
It's more opportunity, and it's more reflective of, say, like our indirect lending. So with car dealerships or RV stores, campers, we have a lot of people that go over to Vermont and buy a vehicle. So we want to make sure that we're relevant and we can help our members do that. So in order for us to continue to grow and to be relevant in the future, we need to move with the times as well.
So for a credit union, if you go outside of New York State, that's no problem?
You have to be approved.
Okay, so there is some licensing guidelines?
It's in the charter, yeah. It's in your charter that where you can operate.
So that's new then to Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
So that was and when you say like moving in with the times, so two things I want to ask you because I love marketing too. So how is marketing and accounting? I think accounting is probably a little more stationary than marketing, but how has that changed since you first got in? And how is the credit union itself changed over the last, let's call it 3 decades of from when you started till now?
There has been so much change that has happened over the years that I'm very proud that I've been a part of. Now we have a marketing department, and Megan McGee-Pelkey is our marketing manager, and then there's a creator of opportunities and a marketing associate, Andy Foster, and Neil Battinelli is with us. So they make up the marketing team currently, as I have switched over 2 years ago to human resources. But Meg and I worked together for many years and involving marketing and, again, just trying to be relevant. And we really wanted to build a culture. We wanted to take care of our membership financially, make them feel welcome when they walk in, make them feel that they're part of something as a member, and really meet their needs where they are and at every different stage of what they're going through. So we really want to market towards those people that need the loans, the 21 to 44. We want to make sure that a child wants to open an account. We want to make sure that, we have a little program to help them learn how to save. Because so many people don't talk about money, and families don't talk about money. Mm-hmm. One of my things that I do a lot of is financial literacy in the local community.
What school did you do the event at?
I'm sorry?
What you did? There was a school event that you did.
Oh, recently?
Last 3-4 years. Like I said, everything's blurred together now. But you did at one of the gymnasiums.
We've done a lot of different things.
I'm trying to think because I was there for one of them and I forgot.
We do a program called Mad City Money.
Was it at Saranac?
We've done one at Saranac. We've been at CV Tech. We've been at Upward Bound. We've been at Plattsburgh State. We've been at NAC. We've been at Peru. We've been kind of all over.
It must have been the Saranac one. I remember. Yes. So keep kind of talk about that too after. But
I'd love to. One of the things in marketing, we have what's called New York Credit Union Association down in Albany, and they had a program that we could purchase, and it's called the Mad City Money Program. And what that is all about is it teaches basically anybody in like middle school to high school, even college. It teaches them how to deal with their money and to budget. So budget is very, very important. And what this program does is it gives you an occupation, and it gives you your salary. It gives you if you're married or not. It gives you if you have children, if you have credit card debt, if you have student loan debt. And then what you do is you have 10 different, the way we set it up is in tables. Mm-hmm. So you have a table there's a realtor table. Mm-hmm. So there's, they have to decide whether they're going to rent or own. Then they have food they have to purchase. Then they have to have daycare if they have kids. Mm-hmm. Then they have vacations. And then they have buying a vehicle if you're going to, have 2 cars because you have, a husband and wife. It's a simulation, and they have a budget sheet that they have to fill out, and they have to come in within $100 of their budget. And some of the kids, it really opens their eyes, and they're like, can I bring back this kid? I don't want this kid. Why do I have to have a kid? I don't want to pay for babysitting. Well, that's called life, right? Yeah. And then we have this wheel. It's called the Fickle Finger of Fate. And it can be either something positive or something negative. So it could be that, you got a flat tire, so it's $75. Or it could be that
your furnace broke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it could be that you won $100 for a raffle that you participated in. So it's either a plus or a minus, right, on your budget sheet. But it really hones in that as a young adult, you still need a budget. Mm-hmm. You still need to know where your money is going, because so many people don't know where their money is going, and they get paid, and then by the next couple of days, they're out of money already. And the one thing that, if I can share with everybody, is it doesn't matter how much you make in a week, in a month, in a year, you still need to do a budget, mm-hmm. because you always need to know where your money's going. And to make categories, and I can't tell you how many high school students I've talked this over. And I was just at Plattsburgh State. I'll give a shout out to Colleen Lemza's class. It's a freshman class, and we're talking about DoorDash. Mm-hmm. I mean, these kids, they have meal plans. Them
spending money on DoorDash. Yes. Yep.
So as a freshman, you have to come in and you're paying, your bill for food, and you have to have a food plan as a freshman. So they might not want to walk over to the dining hall, so they're calling DoorDash. Well, if you go to McDonald's, a regular...
It's like an $18 order.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And for some kids, they have to take student loans out for extras.
Oh.
So, it's like they're using this money on DoorDash. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Now it's okay to treat yourself every once in a while, because the story that I always bring up is I really like Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and I did a budget with a group of upper bound kids, and I gave them the assignment. Okay, so here's a scrap sheet of paper. It has your income Sunday through Monday and your expenses Sunday through Monday. So you have to write down everything that's over $1. So I did it too. Well, I was going to Dunkin' Donuts, getting my medium-sized coffee,
mm-hmm.
And I would say, okay, for easy math, say the cup of medium coffee is $2. I know it's more, but just say it's $2. So I was going to work 5 days a week. So 2 times 5 is, and they say 10. And I'm like, okay, there's 4 weeks in a month. So 4 times 10 is 40. And I said, I was spending $40 on coffee. Ooh, and I teach financial literacy.
Yeah.
I went, So that really kind of stuck out with me. And it's a real story. And I'm like, I can do a lot with that $40. Because this was when Scott and I, we weren't making, a lot of money, and we had 2 kids. So we had a lot of, bills to pay, and we were building a house, and, all those expenses that people have. So we really needed to figure out where our money was. So I ended up putting that $40 in, I split it in half, and I put $20 in each of my girls' accounts over years. So every time I got paid, I would give them $20. So that helped pay for a lot of different things throughout the years.
Well, I think so. The Mad City Money, when I remember doing that, and a couple things were for people, if you ever played the board game Life, it's basically like, instead of playing a board game, you're just walking around a gymnasium or whatever, you go into these places. But when you start, some of the kids, was funny because when they come up, and I think I had, there's renting, and there was a couple different styles of homes. And obviously, if you want the really nice big colonial 5-bed, 3-bath, whatever, it's going to cost you X. And what you started to see was kids, now, of course, this was a simulation. So a lot of kids were like, well, I'll just live in the 2-bedroom, 1-bath, $500 a month thing. I said, that's fine. Okay. Then you had your utilities. So I'm like, okay, this one's on public, this one's septic. But you... Because it's kind of like the same thing. You live in the city of Plattsburgh, you live outside, do you have public utilities, do you have a well and septic? So all this stuff started to pop up, and I found that kids were more conscious of, I would rather have this, not that. And a lot of it was, when I was with the housing, was funny because nobody picked the high-end home. It was always the very small, simplistic ranch style home that was kind of budget friendly, or renting. And it was, and then you started to see how they would go through other stuff, whether it was food, whether it was daycare, and you saw the wheels start turning. And I think the benefit is not necessarily that this is, like you said, it's a mock, but it's to get the kids realizing like there's other stuff in life. And one of the things that I think is, stuff that should just be required in all high school and especially college, because you're getting to the point where you're like, hey, you're going actually, the real world, is financial literacy, but just like the life skills. So when you kind of as a kid think of like, oh, home ec, or these, I don't care how to write a check, I don't care how to balance anything. And it's like, well, these are life skills that everybody, like anybody coming out has to deal with this. It's like, you learn marketing in college. I learned something different. Like I may not need marketing, but I do need to know how to, read a balance sheet of my life basically. Right. And I think kids getting that knowledge and then also realizing like the DoorDash thing to me is something where, when you put it in perspective, there should be like, okay, that makes sense. But I think even beyond that is the idea of like taking loans out for stuff. I'm like, guys, no, like, and I think one of the things that, and obviously you're seeing it now with like student debt and student loans, it's like, because we're seeing that transition into home ownership. Think about the average age of a first-time home buyer. It's much higher than it was, a generation ago. And a lot of it stems from kids getting to the point where like, I have no free money because I'm spending hundreds of dollars a month on student loans because I wanted to go to this big name college. And I'm like, that's great, but you came out with a business degree where you could have went to Plattsburgh State. That was a very highly accredited business school. And again, everybody has their own decisions, but when you always look at kids at 20, it's like, guys, don't dig yourself a deeper hole that you then have to try to come out of. Like, try to get out where you have very, very modest expenses, so then you can start accumulating wealth and starting to get ahead in life. Because I find that right now, and again, you I think you'd see this way more than I will, being in the banking industry, that at 20, a lot of kids are trying to like get traction in their life and trying to kind of dig themselves out, and then trying to get, because again, you're trying to build your name up, you're trying to establish yourself in a career. And I think students or young people, if they don't have their finances in order because they're too much in debt, and or the other thing is patience, is that everybody wants it tomorrow.
Right.
And when you were saying at 26, you took a conscious step backwards because of family. And that's something over the last couple of years with kids, I've had to make sacrifices in certain areas where it's like, okay, I like doing this and I like doing that, but I also have, a wife and 3 kids now. So it's like my priorities have completely shifted from 4 or 5 years ago. And, but it's really taking that stuff and saying, you got to have a patience level too of, I know like my life right now, like I have young kids. So like some of my ambitions have to be kind of put on a shelf for a couple of years. Right. To be fair to myself, so I don't completely go crazy or my wife kicks me to the curb. But I think that also some kids taking a page out of your book of just being patient, and like a step back is not, it's like playing soccer. You can pass back. Right. And it might make you win the game. And that's, I think, I think there's a lot to that of, not putting this like, this undue like pressure on yourself to make things happen fast, because at 20, 25, like I'm in my early 30s right now, and I think I have, barring any catastrophic injury or death, knock on all the wood in the building, but like I really look at, like, I'm at the very early stages of my career, and I'm excited because I'm like, I can put in a solid 30 to 40 years and still hopefully feel, I'm always like modern science, maybe my life expectancy goes up, but I do think that I'm very patient overall, where like day to day you're like, you might get kind of anxious, but I'm like, okay, we're fine. Like, we got plenty of time. 3 years from now, like, I'm still in my mid 30s. Like 10 years from now, I'm 40 years old, which 40 is not old. Like that's, so it's fun. It's funny when you put it in perspective, but I think that Mad City Money, when's the last time you guys did that?
We just did it 2 weeks ago at CV Tech.
Perfect. Okay. So that's still being actively promoted. Good. Cause I think that's, it's very eye opening when you start to get not business, but professional people out in the community going in, because you take the theory and you add in the practicality of it, and then kids can start making that connection of it. Like, oh, we learned that in this class, but now I see how it applies in real life. Right. And I mean, I'm still making those connections now, but like when I was 18 or 20, it was like, you're so clueless. You're like, It's like, let me spin the wheel. Does it have a prize? Do I get like a candy or something? So
you might get a free T-shirt or movie tickets.
Most what kids want, like movie tickets, T-shirt. You got gas money, like anything that adds in the fun. Now, and Jody, outside of last credit union question, two last credit union questions before I skip into some more fun stuff. What is the creator of opportunities role? Is that like a business development? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a cool spin on the name. So I just wanted to make sure I like that. And then, who came up with the new brand of the colors?
We actually
and the logo and everything.
We worked with a company out of Texas, and that was through our association, and we worked as a with the marketing department, but we worked as a management team together, and we made the decisions together. And it was a process that we all had to agree upon and tell the reasons why we wanted certain things. One of the original logos was a family and a path.
Was this back in 2006?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is when I first started. And when we saw the U, and we saw that it kind of creates you to go someplace, right? Mm-hmm. Too. So that was just the winner. It was the winner on all of us. So
I'm colorblind, so I'm going to ask you. This is light green, grayish, and dark green?
It's black.
This is why I'm saying I'm colorblind.
It's black, gray, and the green, it's like a yellowish green. It's a special color that was kind of just made for us.
It's kind of like a slime green.
So yeah, it's
I can see like the kids with the slime now. So
it's a color to stand out, to give a pop of color. So when you see the green, you see that it's UFirst.
And what was the green color? Why did green pop out?
We all just kind of agreed with it. We looked at we got a big board like you have in your office, and we put actually all of the names of credit unions and banks locally, and most of them were blue and red.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, we're not blue and red. So then we started with other colors. Okay. And most of us actually wear a lot of gray and a lot of black.
Yeah, okay.
To begin with.
I'm the same. Actually, this is probably my most poppin' color I have.
As I'm saying this, I'm wearing gray pants and a black sweater. So I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah, branded. I like it. Well, what I was also looking at, too, because obviously the U, but you always talk about past, present, and future. So yes. I thought it was like, kind of, because there's a separation between the, I guess that's a rhomboid.
Yeah, we just thought it looked cool.
Yeah. Now, when you brand most of it, do you guys focus more on the actual logo of it or the whole name?
Well,
because it sure is both, and I've seen it both ways, so I just didn't know.
We really focus on the U.
Okay.
On the U, we really focused mainly on the U, and like a black shirt has to have like the green on it, and like a gray shirt has to have the white on it. So we're really specific on our brand and who we are and our culture, and we want our employees to be happy. We want our employees to want to come into work. We want the employees to want to help the members, each member at a time. I love the fact that when somebody is looking to become a member, they can go into an office and we want to hear your story. If somebody comes in that's a member and wants a loan officer is going to sit with you. A loan consultant is going to sit with you and really ask those questions. And it's not just your credit score that determines your rate. It's your whole story, and why is your credit, whatever number it is, and how can we improve that credit? And we always want to make people better off when they leave as when they came in the door, and we won't put them reverse.
I've always found, so what you just said, I look at and this took me a while to get in my business. So this is my 12th year in real estate, so I always kind of break my real estate life into like my first maybe 4 years, which I would say I don't remember very much, and I was completely, in my eyes, clueless. And then I would say my middle one was like the idea of like me buying into the fact that I kind of did want to do real estate. Because the first 4 years is like, oh, I'll do this until I find something different. And then it shifted from that to the middle 4 years of I had a little bit more reason why I was doing real estate besides just like means to an end. And then my last 4 years has been very much like putting a lot of effort into like kind of growing many facets of myself in the business. But the one thing that is really, I've really come to know in the last 4 years, maybe 5 years, is when you meet with people, whether buyers or sellers, the first thing I ask them is always why. Like, because I find that most salespeople, and I don't know how this would work with a credit union from a bank perspective, but if you're going in for a loan or you're going in to become a member, there's a level of sales to it also. Is that I find a lot of people go for that heart, like, yeah, let's just get you signed up because I just want to make a check mark. And I find that the good organizations and the good, whether they're employees or salespeople or whatever, I think by being a little bit more poised and just kind of like relaxing the conversation and say like, why are we here today? Like, why are you talking to me? Why am I at your house looking to maybe sell it? You want to buy like nobody buys or sell a home on a whim. It's always there's a life event. But I find by really dissecting and just spending the first time asking questions, and one of the kind of like an analogy that I've heard multiple times from a lot of different mentors of mine is that you have like the doctor and the patient, and like you got to look at, if you just go in and the patient says I'm sick and you just say, well, here's like some Tylenol, like maybe it's something else that hurts. So it's like taking the time to really dissect, because there's plenty of times I'll go in, talk with somebody, and I'm like, well, why would you want to sell? Like, why don't you just do this and this? And selling's like not even on the radar. I'm basically telling you, no, I don't want to help or make money or whatever. But if I look at it and I'm like, that's not the best decision. Like what you're trying to do, the chances you pull it off are very slim. And I don't even know if you really want to pull it off. And I find that it sounds like what you just said was that when someone comes in and tells the story, it gets you one on the same page, but then business is not always black and white. There's a lot of gray. And I think you have to play in that gray area, and then you might go black or white, but I would say 80% of the time you're playing in gray area. And I think with, credit union, I think you guys have a lot of options that you could play within the gray area, right?
Right. We have the ability to look at a situation and make an exception. Yes, we have to follow our policies and procedures, but we do have some guidelines that we try, to go by. But there is those chances that we're willing to take if a member is sitting in front of us and due to some circumstance that is out of their control, and they've been a good member, your history with the membership is, part of the decision making too. So it's not just your credit score that lands you this, and this. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many times that somebody will come up to the front line and say, "Oh, I want this type of loan. Can I see a loan consultant?" And then they go in, they end up coming out with something else because that loan consultant took the time. They instilled some trust. They listened. Mm-hmm. I think that is a key word that a lot of people don't do these days, is take that step back and listen to what people are telling you and ingesting it and picking up on cues, because body language is always so important. Mm-hmm. Can I share with you like one of the best days of my credit union?
Absolutely.
So I do, being in HR, I do tell the story to each employee that comes into the credit union. And I've been there 24 years, but this is one of a good story that has always made me laugh and just made me feel good and helping somebody. So I was on the front line at this time, and when you go to a financial institution, a lot of time, it's built on trust. So you see the same people, and same people will wait for you to do their transaction. So there's one gentleman that would come in every Friday, and he'd come in, and he would always, throw his check on our desk. And at that point at Kehoe, we were sitting down. So we had a desk, and there was 4 of us on the front line, and the members sat down.
Wait, when did you go to Kehoe?
Kehoe. Mm-hmm.
No, but when did you go to Kehoe?
Oh, excuse me. And Hawkins.
Okay.
Excuse me. Hawkins.
I didn't know if I missed something.
Sorry, no.
Like Kehoe, you got a much better view.
Yes. That's true. Yeah. Sorry, but in Hawkins Hall. Sorry, the basement of Hawkins Hall.
Still in the basement. Yeah.
So he walks in, and usually he would be laughing, and he'd always tell a good joke. Now, I always told him, please tell a clean joke, because I don't know who's walking in. We might have kids, so you can tell me a joke, but just make it clean. And he was always smiling, laughing, and I'd always ask, how do you want this back? And it was always the same, every Friday. One Friday he comes in, and he's very subdued, and he's not smiling. He comes to my desk, he puts a check down, and I'm like, no, I'm picking up, because I kind of can sense people too, and I'm like, something's wrong here. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, do I ask him? Is that too personal? What should I do? So I asked him. I said, hey, is something wrong? He's like, oh, and he gives a big sigh, and he's sitting down, right? So he's sitting down. He's like, oh, my brother just died, and he didn't have life insurance. My parents aren't living anymore. I don't know how I'm going to pay for his funeral. What am I going to do? So I just looked at him with the eyes. I'm like, you do know we do like personal funeral loans, right? And he's like, his eyes just like opened up. I went, now Linda was the loan officer at that time. So I said, do you have a couple of minutes? I can see if Linda's available. You can talk to her. And he said, yeah, sure. I have a few minutes. And Linda was available. About 20 minutes later, he comes out of Linda's office and he's walking his self again. He came over, he gave me a big hug. He goes, thank you so much for just noticing that something was wrong. And now I can pay for my brother's funeral and I don't have to worry about that anymore and just keep going.
Yeah. I think that's like in life too. You just kind of see when people are down, and I think, because everybody, like I'm guilty of this too. Like if something's bothering you, just try to like plug through it and like, oh, I got it. And like you just, but I think at times too, there's people identify and just like, and I think even just someone else acknowledging that it's okay to have down days or okay to like, hey, you're not doing good, but let me kind of fix it. I think most people, they just need just like a pat on the back or a hug or even just like what you're talking about when you ask why. Sometimes it's just people don't understand something, or you bring it to their attention, or you just give them permission to say like, no, you can think that, or you can agree to that, because that's what I would do too. Because I think sometimes they just want the validation of their thought, and like, or that guy, like obviously losing someone that close is never fun. So I think, just have someone I think in his corner, we probably needed it that day. So maybe he even told a joke that day.
No, he didn't leave with a joke, but he came in the next day. And I have to share with you that I do share the story with his permission. I never say his name, but I do share the story. And one day I happened to be in the lobby and he came in, and he always gives me a hug when he sees me. And so there was nobody else in the lobby at that time. And I'm like, this is the guy, this is my story, and he's like, yeah, she helped me out.
I always find too, it's more fun in business when you actually like you put the personal element behind it, because I think that's also something that I learned early on. I was like this kid getting into real estate. I was like, oh my god, like I've heard this person's name as like Mr. and Mrs. So and so, and then doing a house and like second guessing, and I'm like, oh my god, there's a lot of money. So like I felt very like stiff my first few years, and it wasn't until I was finally like, let's just have some fun and act normal. And then just like, you can be goofy, you can have fun, and then what happens is everybody like, I see sometimes secretly and not secretly, that's how people are anyways. Like they don't, like when they go home, they just want to be goofy and have fun. And I like you can blur the lines between the two. And I think that business is getting more of blurring the lines of like personal and business, where it's like, you can just kind of live all as one encompassing person. And like the Jody at work doesn't have to be the Jody at the soccer game or at home. It's like just the same person. Like people love Jody for who she is, and then I find that you attract the right people when you act yourself, and it's not like you attract like whatever, you just attract the right people for yourself because they align with you, and you're like, wow, this is cool. So I find that like that's been a aha for me. This was maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, but like it made all the difference, because like little things that you learn as a kid, and you're like, I say kid, like a young 20-year-old, where I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, I feel like I'm in over my head, and then you finally realize like not everybody else knows what they're doing either. Just kind of keep, just kind of wing it, ask for help, and work your way through.
Well, so, like you said, surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people that will mentor you. Surround yourself with people that have the same values and beliefs as you.
Who was a mentor for you?
Linda.
Yeah.
Bourgeois is a huge mentor to me. When I was younger, there were a couple of teachers, a couple coaches. Lori Briggs was huge when I was growing up as in high school.
Was she a teacher?
Yep, she was a teacher.
That name sounds familiar.
She's now a lawyer down in Florida, but she was she was my coach as well. She taught business dynamics, I think, in business law. I think.
So maybe she had some influence on going the business route?
No, because at that point I had another coach, Sherry Geddes at SUNY Canton. So
Okay.
I actually went to her office and said, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I like this nursing anymore. It's not for me. What should I do? And I said, I want a degree. So what should I do? So I was very thankful. All my nursing courses did transfer, so I could get a degree, a 2-year degree from Canton.
Did you ever coach sports?
I have over the years. Let's see. Ashley played softball for like Peru, so Scott and I was a coach. I actually, if I could do like my whole life over again, I would absolutely love to be a professional like softball, like college level coach.
Really?
That would. I love softball.
Do you watch like Plattsburgh State play at all, or go to local games?
Yep.
Do you watch? Well, I guess College World Series or college,
Yes.
is that what they call it?
Yes.
I just remember like the thing with softball, it's with how fast those girls can pitch, and when you realize like how close you are, because in baseball it's 60 feet 6 inches, and in softball's what 46.
Yep.
So I mean, if you pace out 46 and turn around, and it's almost like a duel, and you're like looking at someone like, take a step back, like, and those balls come in. How fast do like the college pitchers pitch?
I've seen some girls.
Are they in the 80s, 70s?
Low 70s, I would say.
Ooh.
I used to, when I pitched, because I was a pitcher, if I wasn't pitching, I played first base or the outfield. I was pitching like 68 at that time.
That's insane.
And I had a pitching coach, and he showed me like so many things that I could do with the ball.
You usually
like
bounce it
thrown-
off the hip?
Yeah.
Doesn't that curve it? Or help?
No, it's how you hold the ball. And you have to twist your wrist. You have to.
Do you
twist
ever?
your
Because
wrist.
I think I watched it one time. I think it was like with Jenny Finch is the only one I really know, because she was always the
Oh
big
yes,
pitcher.
that's my husband's favorite pitcher. Yes.
But I think they used to talk about like she would like brush off her hip, but
Yeah.
that might have actually kind of like allowed her to just kind of pop her wrists at times. Now, how does that work with softball pitching with like the biomechanics? There's obviously, I mean, is there more injuries, less injuries in throwing overhand? Because it seems like a weird motion. I mean, I'm used to baseball, so I'm like my natural tendency is to throw. But when you see,
Well,
when you see
actually-
softball really kind of snap it through,
Well, most of your talking physics here now.
Yeah.
But when you're pitching, most of your energy comes from your hips, and not your arm.
so it's kind of a slingshot down.
Yep.
It's kind of like golf then.
Yes, it's
Or hockey,
very
right?
very very similar to golf, and that your legs and your hips really do a lot of the heavy lifting, I guess, of the pitch. Your arm just kind of follows through, and your speed comes from your hips.
Is that why you can hit the golf ball so far? Every time I go to a tournament, it's like, who won the women's long drive? Jody. Okay. Which again, I will say two things. Number one is, in order to win, you have to also hit the fairway.
True.
So I mean, it's not like you can hit the ball long. There's plenty of. I know a lot of guys that can hit the ball long, but I'm like, you're not in that whatever size fairway. Like in the trees does not count. So how do you find a parallel between the two?
Yes, I do. I do.
Not because people always. How long have you been playing golf?
I've been playing golf since I was 13 years old.
Oh, did you play in school?
No, I played softball. I wasn't on the golf team, but I had a boyfriend that taught me how to play golf, and
Okay.
we would go everywhere and anywhere. We used to do a lot of Port Kent and Sable, and I would go to the driving range a lot. And my mom and dad bought me a really good set of clubs, and I would practice, and I would write down, because mathematical brain of mine.
Yep. I
I would write down like how far I could shoot this iron or this wood, or so it's funny that you're talking about golf now, because I'm getting ready to get a new set of golf clubs, and I'm trying to do my research on that right now, and what brand or what I should do, and because golf clubs had changed now.
Yep.
The funny thing is like my iron is still like not my iron, excuse me,
Driver?
my driver is still this big. I don't have like a big head driver. So I pull my one out, and the other ladies in the golf league are like, "What are you hitting, a 3?" I'm like, "No, this is my one." They're like,
How old is it?
"My clubs are at least 10 years old."
Which driver do you have?
I have Lady Cobra clubs right now.
Are they all ladies all the way through the bag?
Yep.
the reason I'm saying this, I'm in this exact same boat. So we're actually going down, me and a few friends. We're playing hooky on Friday to go down to Exit 8.
Are you going to Northway?
Yep.
That's where I want to go.
Yeah. So
When are you going?
Friday, if you want to meet us down there. So we ended up, have you ever been there?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
10 years ago, you might have been at this. 10 years ago, I went to the demo day down there. Or 11, I don't know when it was. I think it was in college. And I ended up getting irons. Now, when I was a kid, naturally, I picked up golf at 10. So my first like real set of clubs, like I got TaylorMade clubs, I was probably, I think around maybe 14 years old. And some of my all-time favorite clubs I had when I was 14. My putter I still use to this day is from when I was 14. And so seeing how the clubs have changed over time. Now, also, because we always play this back and forth in our head, because when you talk about the size of the club, naturally, like they've gotten out to like 460 cc, which is like the bigger, moment of inertia, all the science, because it's a very scientific sport.
Yes.
And it's funny when you look at the ones that you used to play with. And so I had irons that are 10, 11 years old that I had fitted down there, and the correct shafts, the lie angle. Obviously I put the grips I wanted on, and so I always go back and forth. Like, I love my irons. Like, I still love them. But part of me is like, they're 11 years old. I know at some point they're probably just beat to hell, that they probably should be changed. But then in my head, I'm always like, it's like, it's the Indian, not the arrow. Like, do I need new clubs, or do I just suck and then I got to get better? Because so then I kind of go back and forth. And then there's a level of like, well, I kind of just want something new to look at. So like, my goal is to get a new putter, which I have not bought a putter in 20 years. And so when we go down, same thing. You can pick. I don't even want to get new drivers. Like, I just want to check the specs and make sure I have the right shafts and all that stuff. So when you go for a club, like, what are you leaning towards right now for potential clubs? I'm like a geek out on golf.
Yeah, well,
gear,
I'm
so.
like Callaway or TaylorMade. That's the two that I'm kind of looking at right now.
Now, for women's clubs, are the women's heads different than the men's heads? I know the shafts are always different.
The shafts are different. I think the heads are similar. I don't think they're exactly the same. The thing is I'm sure I'm only 5'4", but I have long arms, so I can hit a men's club if I want to. It's funny because like when we golf with like my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law, they have like newer clubs, and Carol will be like, "Hey, try this one," and she was like, "Wow, you hit that ball," and I'm like, I don't know. I just attribute to it, I guess, that I was a pitcher, and that
There's got to be a parallel to it.
And I hit straight. I'm very lucky, I guess. I just have I don't know. I relax when I golf. I really don't take it seriously. It's my out. It's my one night that I can take during the summer that I go after work. And
where's the league at?
Linda and I are partners, and we golf at Bluff Point.
Okay, because I know Harmony has a women's league.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of it, when I used to play at North Country when I was a kid, and they had one there, whatever, I think it was like middle of the day too. They had to bounce around.
Well, when I retire, then I'll try those other places. We did play at the Barracks one year. That was a lot of fun too. And, it's just nice to see women out on the golf course. And I know that it's funny when I went to the CUNA Management School, on Saturdays you could either play golf, you could go to Chicago, watch a game, or you could go to Chicago and do the Miracle Mile shopping. So I decided to play golf. So and I was one of the only women that was playing. And I remember they kind of made up teams and stuff, and I was at the driving range right before we're going to start, and all the men are usually there. So I just do my own thing. And like you said, I'm the same person no matter where I am. So I just do my own thing. Don't care about what the others are doing. And I tried to pick a spot that was like out of the way, because I didn't want to be in the way, So I started hitting him. And then all of a sudden, one of the guys came over that was in my management class. Then another one came over, and then another one came over. I'm like, "Hi guys, like I'm just practicing. Like, do you need something? What's going on?" They're like, "You really hit the ball." I'm like, I don't know. I guess so.
Well, I think like when I was growing up, I I didn't play with. I'm trying to think of the first time I ever played with a woman golfing, because you played with your buddies, and there were 0 girlfriends that played golf or girls I went to school with that played golf. It was always just guys. So, and when you get older, there wasn't a whole lot. So like right now, one of the people I play the most with is Megan Whedon, and she's great, and she loves it. And it's funny because we're like in group text with she's really the only girl that's in the group text for golf purposes, but we said memes about it all back and forth, and we always talk about, golf or scrambles. But when you start, because I know there's some women's leagues, and I know some other girls that play, and like to me, I think golf's awesome. Like I think for everybody, and I think getting out, because the thing with golf, it never holds you. Everybody plays, from whatever tee their skill level's at, or and you just play and you go up and you just mosey on up with everybody, and especially as in the summer, a lot of the scrambles are on Friday, so we'll get a group of friends together, and it's like a mental break from the week. Like you just work harder that week because that you get to go kind of have a little more fun on Friday. But I've played multiple scrambles with girls, and it's a lot of fun, and a lot of them are good. And I think a lot of them just need the confidence level, because a lot of them are like, I'm just not good. I'm like, well, yeah, you're like anybody else. You played like 2 times a year. Like play regularly and you'll be good. Like that's
the more you play, the better you'll be. That's for sure, because you learn what your clubs can do, and that's the game. That's the game.
When you start getting to the specs of golf too, just understanding the technology and letting it help you and not work against you.
Right.
Like when you start talking like shafts, and you start talking about like lie angles, or like your longer arms, like how does that translate to where the club is? Like is it upright? And I think when you start, really kind of diving in and nerding out a little bit on it, like even just making a couple of tweaks, like, oh, I was trying to manipulate it a certain way. Well, I'm like, all I had to do was, I don't know, something very simplistic. Or maybe you find out that, like I have some buddies, I'm like, you're using a regular shaft, but you swing fast enough for a stiff shaft, like you're going to lose stuff to the right. But instead you're thinking you have a slice. I'm like, really, it's just your club's not correctly for your swing speed.
Right.
So it's a lot, and that's why I've been geeking out on putters lately, because then I'm starting to realize like there's face balance and toe hang and mallet versus blade, and then I'm like, wow, I didn't realize there's this much. Like I've gone to mini golf with like the dual use putter and just like hit it, and it seems like it works. But that's well, I'm hoping you get a chance to go down there and get fitted, because it's fun.
Yeah, Scott and I are both gonna go down, and our youngest daughter Mackenzie goes to Russell Sage down at college, so we're gonna take a couple days off in April next month. And
does she play golf?
Does Mackenzie know? Both Ashley and Mackenzie though went through the Willie King Junior.
I was an alumni of that too.
Yeah, he had little shirts and stuff. So they can play, but I really want to go down there and see what they have and try them out and just see what works best for me.
If you do a fitting though, I think you have to go online
and make an appointment.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I was gonna say, just make sure you do that before you take the trip down there. But other than that, I mean, even if you just took a trip down there, there's hitting ranges and bays.
Yes.
And, I was almost like, God, if that could be, because they have heated hitting bays.
Yeah.
So I'm like, imagine getting like February going out with like your parka, but being able to like, oh my God, 60, 70 degrees under this heat lamp. So
I mean, what a good stress release that would be, right? Just to go hit some golf balls.
Well, Bluff's open right now. The range is.
Yeah.
And Jared Burns, who I go a lot with, texts me. He's like, again in our group, he's like, "Hey, just let everybody know Bluff's open." He goes, "I just went and hit." And I was like, and I'm sitting in my head, I'm like, do I have an opening in my schedule this week to go? And the answer is no. But it's like, you're trying to, rush out there. So soon my skis will be out of my car. My clubs will be in the car for about 6 months and just sit there. So,
yeah. Well, one of the nice things too about golf is it brings a lot of people together, which is nice. And there's a lot of, charities and donations that you could make out there. I know you have your one that
for the kids. I'll be plugging this for months.
So I'm hoping that, one day I'll be able to play and be able to get out of the office. So.
Oh, in this tournament?
Yeah.
So what we were actually thinking about, which this is preliminary. I don't even know if I should. I'll say it to you off air, because if I say it, some of the people might crucify me because we let the cat out of the bag. But I'll tell you a couple things after. But this is a great tournament, and I mean, I'm sure you recognize a lot of the names on there too. So it's a lot of
good people.
Yeah. So it's
good people.
Yeah. It's fun. We raise a lot of money for a very good cause, and we have a ton of fun doing it.
That's what it's all about.
It's a win-win. Yeah.
We the Carpenters do the Make-A-Wish Foundation golf tournament every year with Matt and Amy Spiegel and Carol and Stephen Carpenter are my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and Scott and I help out along with our kids, their kids, and we raise a lot of money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and it's a lot of work that goes into it. And that morning, it's so funny because Steve's like, okay, you sell like the 50-50 or something. I'm like, okay, I'll sell whatever. And I'm like, okay, get your money out. This is for kids. It's not for, us. It's for kids. So, donate what you can. And we appreciate you being here.
I think most people do pretty well at golf tournaments. I think overall, that's what I like about it. It's like we're in a very giving community. So I think people, there's stuff always going on, but I think people do a good job of giving what they can to a lot of different organizations and really try to make the world go around that way. So it's because we've noticed a lot, just even with this tournament, like there's a lot of people that reach out, and it's fun. It's just, it gives you something to, like I said, kind of that you always want to give back, but you're like, how can we give back and also have a lot of fun doing it? Right. It's just kind of like the perfect marriage of the
win-win.
two.
Yeah, it's the win-win. Well, I know Megan's mother came up to me during the Make-A-Wish Foundation because they usually golf every year, and she's like, "Oh, Megan wants to golf with you." I went, "Well, have her call me or text me, whatever. Yeah. I'd love to golf with her."
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Yeah,
like,
she's like to me, she's like an upcoming rock star, just like you are.
Yeah,
and it's so nice to see, the group of people that you hang out with. Like
most of them are on this board.
I know.
Yeah, so it's like you try to get good people together, and but like you said, it's kind of having that strong network. And I find that the ones, like I said, Jared or Ryan, they're good friends of mine, have kids, have jobs, and we're always in that same stage of life. But, so when one of us says we can't do something because we got kids, we're like, okay, you got to, like, totally get it. Like, next time we'll hit you up. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I think just the one thing I've, over the last handful of years, is just getting to really know some people. And then a lot of them have become, like, my best friends. So you really... we try to have a lot of fun together doing stuff. So whether it's skiing or tournaments or even just out and about and trying to kind of brainstorm some cool things or even help each other out. Like, hey, you're struggling with something in business. Let me give you my 2 cents or, kind of mentor each other. It's been, it's a good, like I said, just good relationship with a lot of people, but it's cool. Well, Jody, I appreciate you coming on. We'll wrap it up here so you can go out on the golf course. I'm just kidding. I wish we were going out on the golf course. If you ever want to play this year, though, let me know because I'd like
definitely.
That would be a lot of fun.
That would be a lot of fun. I'd love to do that.
You'll teach me a thing or two, and
probably not.
We can see your new clubs. I always say I used to be good, and now I'm a father of 3. So getting out on the course, I play with Andy Lamonto a lot, who's over here, and then a couple other people on at Bluff, like early week, like 5:30, 6 a.m. We're off, and someone's having a bad shot, or things like, we're playing golf. It's fine. 7 a.m. It's sunny. We're out playing golf.
Like, just don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's good. Yep. We're keeping our day job. So, Jody, I appreciate you coming on. This was fun. I'm glad we actually got to do this. This is a lot of fun, and I appreciate you still taking up my offer after I canceled on you multiple times.
Oh, that's okay. I was very happy to be here, and thank you for letting me tell my stories, and I've enjoyed our time together, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, this is great. So if anybody needs to find you, Jody, give us a quick plug for the credit union, yourself.
Yes, I'm located at 274 Ruger Street. You can call me. Our number is 518-324-5700. If you need any advice on financial literacy, please, reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you with a budget. The last piece of thing is I do some work at MHAB.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm there monthly, and I also do one-on-one sessions with them as needed. And I've met some really nice people, Mike Carpenter and Betsy, and they're doing wonderful things.
Businessman of the Year.
Yeah. I actually I went to his office the other day to congratulate him personally. He's a great soul, and he has a really good story.
So I don't know Mike well, but I did end up golfing with him once this year. I went with a buddy, and we kind of got paired up. Like, my buddy knew him, so we ended up playing actually a 5-some, but it was fine. The guy I knew, his family owned the course, but we ended up going out and playing. And Mike, he was a good guy. Like, he's like I said, it was like an early Sunday morning. He's out there just having fun, but he's like, whatever, just drop a ball. We're just here to have fun. Nobody cares.
That's right.
It was good.
That's like just one last thing. Like, when ladies are learning, and any course around here is not going to be perfect. Put it in a nice piece of grass, and then hit it from a nice piece of grass.
Yeah, be fair.
I don't care if you move it a foot. I don't care if you move it a club length. It's not going to make any difference to me. Yeah. Is it going to make your stroke better and your swing better and make you like golf more? Yeah.
Yeah, and and I think that's the key when you're starting out. Because when I was a kid, and I'm hoping as my kids get older that same thing. It's like my son's got a little lefty set. He's a little lefty, but it's like,
it's cute.
Like, let's work on the temper, kid. Like, you're not gonna be great. You gotta, you gotta drop that. Golf's hard. So, all right. Well, Jody, again, thank you so much. We'll wrap it up there. Again, UFirst Federal Credit Union on Ruger Street and a few other locations mentioned throughout. Jody and all the people over there are great people, and you can't miss the building. It's a beautiful building right in the corner of Ampersand and Ruger. About to get a new light, hopefully, right? Might make life a little easier. So that's it. Episode 183 of the Galen Trombley Show. We're out. Thanks for listening to the Galen Trombley Show. If you want to reach me, you can go on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. The spelling, GaelanTrombley.